Hurricane Katrina was the biggest natural disaster in U.S. history. But as the world has learned, more than nature is responsible for how bad this disaster was and still is, even 1 year later. It killed nearly 2,000 people, and its financial cost has been estimated at $96 billion and climbing. More than 2 million people were displaced, 350,000 homes destroyed. The levees separating Lake Pontchartrain from New Orleans were breached by the surge, and 80% of the city was flooded. Katrina, followed by Hurricane Rita, created a disaster that the U.S. government agencies responsible for dealing with disasters were completely unprepared for. When Plenty responded to an earthquake in Guatemala in 1976 that killed over 23,000 people, the U.S. Army was one of the most prominent and effective relief agencies on the ground immediately. Now the U.S. Army is bogged down in Iraq, while hundreds of billions of dollars are going to waste on another senseless war. And the Gulf Coast, 1 year later, still looks like a war zone. Leading up to and immediately after Katrina made landfall on August 29, 2005, Homeland Security and FEMA were dazed and confused. It was the effort of ordinary Americans rushing to the scene who brought the most direct help. Plenty joined their efforts and had a school bus loaded with relief supplies in New Orleans on September 2nd. Since that first run, Plenty has set more than 35 relief supply runs and over 70 volunteers to the Gulf, while providing financial support, goods, and volunteers to other grassroots and local community agencies. One of the things we have been seeing is the virtual instant community building that has occurred, both among survivors who have banded together to help each other cope and rebuild their lives, and among the armies of highly motivated grassroots citizen volunteers who are doing the best work on the ground, in contrast to the mega relief agencies and the federal government. A phrase we've heard over and over is, "It's just like the old days." An African-American elder and activist resident of New Orleans remarked to the Plenty volunteers who were delivering food and water, "I haven't seen people like you since the 60s. But now you've got lifelong peace and justice veterans working shoulder to shoulder with a new generation of young, idealistic, politically aware, high-energy volunteers." The common theme among those who we found needing the most help was that they were hurting well before the storm struck. The disaster just shone a spotlight on the problem and brought media attention. While much of the media has left, this is a disaster that is not only far from over, in some ways it is getting worse. The health of many survivors whose living conditions are not improving is deteriorating. Tens of thousands haven't recovered their homes or livelihood, and basic services such as locally available health care are nowhere close to what they were, and they were never adequate. Plenty and the many grassroots organizations we have been working with are continuing to provide relief for the people of the Gulf, and will be there for the foreseeable future. While the commitment of new groups of volunteers remains strong, funding for these grassroots efforts has been drying up now that the urgency has disappeared from public consciousness. Sadly, we have a government that either doesn't care or is simply incapable of doing the right thing. Please consider donating to Plenty's Katrina Relief Project so that we're able to continue bringing help and hope to our neighbors still suffering along the Gulf Coast. Thank you so much.